Hey there, welcome back. How's your day going? Been feeling a little overwhelmed? Maybe a bit like something just isn't adding up in the world around you? You're not alone. You're here because you care about your freedom, your peace of mind, and what's really going on behind the headlines. And so do we. Today, we're diving into conspiracy theories not to stir fear, but to ask the questions that matter, to connect the dots they hope you'll ignore. Because the more you understand, the better you can protect what truly matters: your time, your choices, your life. Let's take a closer look together. In the year 2029, deep beneath the archives of the Vatican Apostolic Library, a monk named Father Elias discovered a manuscript wrapped in salt-stained vellum, sealed in beeswax, and marked with a sigil no scholar could trace. It bore no date, no title, and no author. Only a phrase scrawled in Latin across the cover: Tempus non transit. Tempus transit nos. Time does not pass. We pass through time. At first glance, the pages were chaotic: symbols, drawings, indecipherable charts, names unfamiliar to history. But as Elias translated line by line, a frightening clarity emerged. The manuscript chronicled 1,000 years of events: assassinations, invasions, inventions, elections, wars, all detailed with surgical precision, right up to the current day. The final entry was dated exactly 1 year ahead, May 28th, 2030. It read simply: "The anchor breaks. The cycle ends." The Vatican buried the document in secrecy. Elias was reassigned to a silent monastery in the Alps. But the manuscript was not forgotten. It had already been leaked, scanned by a curious intern in the brief hours before it vanished. Months later, a reclusive linguist named Dr. Adrian Vale, known for his work decoding pre-Mayan glyphs, received the scans through an anonymous source. As he pored over the script in his candlelit study, Adrian realized something terrifying. It wasn't a prophecy. It was a record. Each event described in the manuscript had not merely been predicted, it had been arranged. And the force behind it wasn't an oracle or machine. It was a lineage, a bloodline, a hidden order tracing back to the 13th century, an unbroken line of men and women called only one name: Chronomancer. Adrian Vale had always dismissed conspiracy as noise, fuel for the desperate and disconnected. But this manuscript, with its impossibly accurate entries and intimate details, was different. It wasn't theory, it was architecture. Historical events plotted like a geometric proof. A pattern began to emerge. In every century, a figure appeared in the margins of conflict, never ruling, never leading, but always close. An advisor to Genghis Khan, a midwife in Elizabethan London, a banker in 19th century Vienna. None of them famous, all of them traced to a single bloodline. Vale mapped the genealogies, cross-referenced DNA studies, and combed through obscure burial records. One name appeared repeatedly in altered forms: Ormond. Sometimes as a surname, sometimes as a first, always attached to individuals with influence just outside the spotlight. According to the manuscript, the Chronomancer order was founded by a monk named Ansel Ormond in the year 1241, after surviving a lightning strike during a solstice eclipse. That night, he claimed he heard a voice that spoke not in sound, but sequence, numbers, events, births, deaths. A map of time, encoded in blood. Ansel believed history was a current, not a flow of chance, but a design sculpted by heredity. If one could trace the bloodlines, one could bend the future. He spent his life breeding descendants with specific traits: memory retention, dream precognition, empathic mirroring. Each generation refined the gift, not through magic, through deliberate genetic legacy. Vale was haunted by one passage from the manuscript: "We do not change the future. We remember it. Time is not a river. It is a body, and we are its marrow." He needed proof, something tangible. And so, he followed the only surviving name tied to the modern bloodline: a woman named Liz Ormond. Born in Prague, disappeared in 2012, last seen boarding a flight to Argentina. Vale packed a bag and vanished from the academic world without a word. The trail led Adrian Vale to the windswept outskirts of Patagonia, where the land falls silent and even the sky seems to hold its breath. There, nestled between glacier-fed lakes and mountains veined with obsidian, he founded a monastery untouched by GPS or satellite. No signs, No power lines. No road. Just stone walls scorched by lightning, and a symbol carved into the gate. 3 interlocking circles, identical to those found in the margins of the manuscript. He was expected. The old monk at the entrance said nothing, only nodded, and led Vale down a spiral stair hidden beneath the altar. The air changed thicker, colder, metallic. They descended for what felt like hours, through chambers carved in smooth, unnatural precision. And then, a chamber unlike the rest. Circular, dark, lit by hundreds of candles whose flames did not flicker. In its center stood a woman in a silver robe, her eyes the exact gray as the storm clouds above. "Liz Ormond," Vale said. She smiled, not with warmth, but with recognition. "You came to ask if it's real," she said. "It is." Adrian stepped forward. "The manuscript says the anchor breaks in 2030. What is it?" Liz didn't answer at first. She walked to the wall and pressed her hand against a stone disc, which began to turn silently. Behind it, a tapestry, but not of cloth, of hair, bone, thread, and blood. Generations of it, preserved and woven into a living genealogy. "The anchor," she said, "is not a thing. It's a person, the one who holds the memory intact. And if they die, time fragments. Reality begins to bleed." Adrian stared at the name stitched into the tapestry. At the bottom, newly added, was a name he never expected. Adrian Vale. Adrian staggered back from the tapestry, breath hollow, as if some invisible thread had been pulled from within him. His name, woven at the bottom, not inked, stitched, in human tissue. Liz Ormond stepped closer, her voice low and calm. "You're not the first to seek the truth, Adrian, but you are the first to carry it in your blood without knowing." Adrian shook his head. "No, I'm not part of this. I'm not one of you." "But you are," she replied. "Your grandmother fled Dresden in 1945. Her name was Lotte Valeborn, an anagram of Ormond, one the order used in exile. You are her descendant. The gift passed to you, not through belief, through biology." He wanted to deny it, but the dreams, the vivid déjà vu, the feeling of watching events unfold moments before they happened, he had dismissed them for years as coincidences or stress. Now, they came crashing back with sharp clarity. "What happens in 2030? He asked again. Liz turned toward the stone table in the center of the chamber. Upon it, a codex bound in ivory skin. She opened it, pages blank, until she touched the parchment. Then, writing bloomed like smoke. "You remember the past," she said. "You've done so your entire life. But the anchor remembers forward. One among us sees what must be. If the anchor falters, the others forget what's to come. The architecture collapses. Then who is the anchor?" Adrian asked. She looked up at him, her gray eyes suddenly soft. "You are." Silence swallowed him. The chamber felt smaller, the candles colder. "We've guided history to this moment," she said. "The tipping point. But you must choose it. We cannot force the vision. It must awaken." "How?" She stepped aside, revealing a mirror framed in obsidian. But the reflection it held was not his. It was a younger version. Adrian Vale stared into the obsidian mirror. It did not show glass. It showed time. His time, as it had been, as it could be. Wars he never fought. Children he never had. Lives unlived, looping endlessly, each shaped by decisions not yet made. In some, he was a scholar. In others, a tyrant. In one, a martyr whose death ignited a silent revolution. They were all him, and none. The mirror vibrated with a soft hum, like the pull of a deep magnetic current. "Step through," Liz said again. Adrian felt it before he moved. A flicker behind the eyes. Like memory, returning. Not learned, but unlocked. Suddenly, he remembered the fire in Alexandria, not from books, but from the heat on his skin. He remembered the streets of Florence during the Black Death, the scent of smoke in Kyoto as a shogun fell, the silence of the moon before Armstrong spoke. He remembered standing behind presidents, beneath popes, beside kings, always in shadow. The memories flooded in. Centuries of them, woven not in thought, but in bone. The manuscript had never been prophecy. It had been his own record. He was not the reader. He was the writer. The anchor. Adrian stepped forward. The mirror shimmered like water, and the chamber dissolved around him. Liz remained behind, closing the codex with reverence. The candles extinguished themselves, one by one, until only the tapestry remained, swaying gently, as if breathing. Above ground, The world turned as it always had. Governments squabbled. Markets surged. Storms gathered. But somewhere beneath the ice-cracked mountains, time had shifted. Not broken. Chosen. And the next chapter had already begun writing itself.